Welcome to Inside Major League Pickleball. I'm Will Doughton, he's Dave Fleming, and we've got breaking news for you. Sunday was the Major League Pickleball player keeper deadline, and we have who was kept and who was dropped. We're going to give you the 5 or 6 biggest storylines, biggest things to be watching for as we prepare for the drafts. Dave, let's go right into it with the New York Hustlers. They've got a whole new squad. They dropped all 4 of their players, Dave.
Yeah, just unbelievable. If you were a Hustlers fan, well, there's no one wearing your uniform now. They cut everybody. Jack's gone, Riley's gone, Leia's gone. My goodness, Will. So I think it's all about the money, though. I think they might be able to get that back, but the way it worked is to keep a player, you had to commit to half of what you bid for in the original draft last year, and they don't want to pay those prices. There's inflation everywhere. They don't want to do it, so guess what? They cut everybody. I can't wait to see what they do.
And they saved quite a bit of money by doing so. They saved over $600,000 by not keeping any of their players. Obviously, they have 6 players they will need to draft. They'll have to make good use of all of that money, but hugely surprising move. Jack Sock, Riley Newman, Leia Jansen, not on premier level rosters going into the draft. Moving on to another big name that was dropped, James Ignatowicz on the DC Pickleball team. Dave, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's another one where there's a big element of the finances involved in that. Another top 10 player. This is unbelievable how many top 10 players are on the free agency wire. So Jimmy's there. Will they try and pick him back up? I don't know. They love the rest of their team.
And I just think that move is less about Ignatowicz than it is more about the great value you have with Rachel Rohrbacher, Jackie Kawamoto, and Dekel Bar. Just the prices they're getting for those high caliber players, it's amazing. So I think it's less about James. Yeah, maybe he hasn't been playing up to that, top 8 spot where he was drafted last year, but I think a very balanced squad DC has right now. They're looking very dangerous after this as well.
Because you couldn't keep all 4.
Right.
And that's the big thing. And we saw that with some of the top end teams too. Because guess what? Augie cut. Kate Fahey dropped. Why? Do you think they wanted to do it? No, the Dallas Flash did not want to drop Augie. But guess what? You couldn't keep all 4. And the Shock couldn't keep Kate with Anna Bright. No way, she's going anywhere. And the youngsters aren't going anywhere, Hayden and Gabe. So Kate Fahey also out there. I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to run back and try and keep the Shock together.
I agree with you there, Dave, just because the energy that Fahey brings, I think it fits really well with the youngsters, like you said, with Anna Bright as well. And Kate Fahey coming off her first career PPA doubles medal in mixed in Tucson. So her stock, obviously we know what she can do in singles, but in doubles as well, she's been killing it. Let's talk about some family ties, Dave.
Okay.
Looking at the Carolina Pickleball team, Ben and Colin John's huge story was they're not playing together in 2025 after the Masters, but it looks like they might have to now with Major League Pickleball. They're still on the same team after the cuts.
Yeah, so the drop was actually Yana Newell. They sent out Brooke Buckner again, got finances coming back. They got cash coming back, so kept Caitlin Christian, who's on a rampage with singles. And then there's the Johns boys. So it looks like after all of the drama, and they're never going to play together ever again, what's going to happen at the holiday dinner table? Well, guess what? They're going to hit the 20 by 44, and I think what we're going to see is teams that were aggressive in acquiring players through putting finances in the deal, cash considerations, are also now going to see the reverse of that, and the teams that got the cash back are going to invest it, because the way the draft auction works, it's just like last year's draft, where you can go get the first pick because you're just bidding against the other 15 premier teams. So this is going to be wild to see how that works out.
Both levels, both Premier and Challenger, running through that dynamic bidding process. Speaking of a team that kind of got promoted from Challenger, now up to Premier, the Chicago Slice, another team that had to drop all 4 of their players, no players going into the draft, Dave. How do you think that plays out?
That was different. New York chose to do it. Right. So they had players of the caliber we discussed. They had to do it. Chicago had all players who do not have a UPA contract, so you cannot keep them. So again, how are you going to invest? How's the Chicago Slice team going to go after that? That's going to be fascinating to watch. Are teams going to try and go real aggressive, or is there going to be 2 or 3 teams like Dallas and St. Louis potentially who are going to fight to keep that 2024 team together, and then everybody else is going to be just sitting back, waiting and hanging out, and then going to jump in and get some great values because there are some great players available.
100%. And I think, one thing with Chicago, Carlos DeLore was their coach last year. He's now a UPA signed player. Could we see him going from coach to player in the same year? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Be awesome. Good man, that Carlos. We'll see what happens.
Now, looking at, before we move on, we'll go to 2 more challenger level teams. Had to cut some players just because of the contract stuff, but Brooklyn Aces, Las Vegas Night Owls, both looking very strong after the pre-drop free agency period. Talk a little bit about that, Dave.
Yeah, I'll take Las Vegas and you can take the other. Las Vegas was very aggressive, so that was the choice you had to make during this trading period, and they got a great team. They're going to be playing challenger, but they got Pablo Tejas. They made the trade for Brooke Buckner. They still have Zoe Wong. They had to cut their last player, so that was Spillane Hovenier, who wasn't even eligible to be kept. So they're going to be adding 1 player to that, but that is one heck of a start for Challenger, and Brooklyn looks good as well.
Brooklyn looks super strong. We talked about New York, but can't forget about the Aces. They're rocking with Mari Humberg, who they acquired from the New Jersey Fives, that last-minute trade right before the deadline of trade window 1. They've also got Andrea Coop and Daniel De La Rosa, players who've been around for a while. Andrea Coop, obviously so experienced. They know how to win, and Mari Humberg certainly showed what she can do last year on the Fives. I think we could see those 2 teams potentially meet for the Challenger Championship. I know it's way too early.
I'm calling it right now. I think you're right. I think they're going to dominate that side. And the one thing with everything we've talked about, Leah Jansen is an alumni of the Fives. Now available, will we see the Fives go after her? We'll find out now that Mari's out of there.
Or could we see Lee Waters?
I don't think so.
A player on the Fives. Hey.
I don't think so. I've talked to her. I don't think that's going to happen, but she showed her medal by winning a gold medal on the Carvana PPA Tour in December.
That was that was my line of thinking there. But that is just a preview of what we're going to get into on next week's full MLP draft preview show. Just wanted to give you guys some of the biggest updates after the player keeper deadline. And then, of course, we've got the premier level draft on March 2nd, the challenger level draft on March 3rd, and the regular season starting in late April in Orlando, Florida. Can't wait for all that. So much to look forward to in the Major League Pickleball season. For Dave Fleming, I'm Will Doughton. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week for the draft preview.
Peace.